Hello everyone, welcome to week 2 of our Education 595 course. One quick note, I'm actually recording this video at the same time when I recorded your week 1 video. I typically don't do that. I like to recap the discussion board posts as I'm doing my welcome videos, but if you read in my introductory discussion board, you know that I am currently leading, if you're watching this when you should be, a trip to the Dominican Republic with some of our Winthrop students. So as I am still maintaining all the responsibilities for this class, I was a little weary that the internet would allow me to record and upload a video. So I went ahead and recorded this video so I could explain your assignment for this week. So in terms of our second week of our first module, we are digging deeper into differentiation. As I said last week, differentiation is the bread and butter for teaching gifted and talented learners. Hopefully you saw through the case study last week, as well as our learning module, or rather learning materials, differentiation is often mislabeled. Oftentimes we think of differentiation as personalized learning, meaning I have a different lesson plan for Susie and a different lesson plan for Jamal and a different lesson plan for Robert, and they each have their own personal studies. So that is a little bit overboard, but the key with differentiation is that term different, because another common misunderstanding is we just say that differentiation equals more. So these gifted students know it all, here's more of the same thing. Or these gifted students get it, my students over here don't, so I'll just have my students who are gifted help the students who are struggling. And by doing that, we're really doing those gifted students a disservice. We are basically punishing them for their giftedness because we're saying, we're not going to take it any further. I want you to talk about something you already understand throughout the rest of this class. And what that often leads to is what we call underachievement. So all of a sudden, the gifted students realize, well, why would I try? Because if I get finished with everything, I'm just going to sit there. Or I'm bored in class, I already know everything, so I'm just going to sleep. Or I'm going to misbehave and start distracting all of the other students, or I'm going to read a book underneath my desk. So oftentimes when we differentiate, if we're not careful, we're just doing more of the same thing, and that is not differentiation. That is actually punishing our most gifted and talented students. So I definitely like that first case study because you're seeing teachers attempt this. It is not easy, but as you'll see throughout this course, there are different strategies that we can use in terms of differentiation. I know when I first started teaching and attempting to apply these strategies, I wanted to do everything at one time. I wanted to do readiness, interest, and learning profile. They were all going to do a different project, and whichever way they wanted, it was way too much. And so my biggest advice for you is do something simple. Provide some form of choice. Let your students choose the process that they go throughout the content or the product. Look at readiness and think of ways that you can challenge your students rather than just giving them extra if they already understand. But this is not an overnight, all of a sudden you're differentiating in every single way. Really, differentiation is a thought process, and it is a slow, gradual process. So if we think about it in terms of new lesson plans for everyone, of course we're going to freak out. So what we're thinking about now is, how does this look like Monday morning when I've had a long weekend and I had to grade, and now I'm going to try to differentiate. So think of one simple thing in the classroom. So that's just a little bit of recap of those case study classrooms, as well as some information from your learning and library materials. In terms of this week's assignment, so your activity for this week is called the Differentiated Classroom Analysis. If you go within our Learning Module 1, you will see there's its own folder for module assignment, so it's right there. the directions are clear and are already up there, but I do like to just give you a verbal explanation as well, because differentiating, some people learn better when they listen, others learn better when they're able to just read carefully. So for this assignment, I'm looking for a 1 to 2 page narrative. So I am looking, this is one of the activities that seems a little bit more like a paper than others. Although don't let the word paper intimidate you. I'm really only looking for about 2 pages. So within those 2 pages, I want you to choose among those classroom A, B, and C. Choose which classroom you think is not necessarily doing the best in terms of differentiation. Which of those 3 classrooms do you think has some shortcomings and has some areas for improvement? So choose which classroom, and the first criteria in your rubric is to tell me at least 2 specific, and the key word here is specific, at least 2 specific shortcomings that you see in that classroom. Now, this is not your gut of, I like teaching this way. This is according to the literature that we studied in the library content. This is why the specific method of teaching is not really helping in terms of differentiation. So within one class, tell me at least 2 things that are not going very well. Within that, I need to see clear evidence that you've read the library content and you know what you're talking about, okay? So first thing, tell me at least 2 shortcomings, what's not really working very well in that classroom. Then, based off of those shortcomings, tell me at least 2, again, recommendations in terms of improvement. So what would you suggest that this one classroom teacher could do to improve their method of differentiation? That as well should be supported from your content in the course library. So your main thing, 2 recommendations based on 2 shortcomings. If you look at the rubric, you'll notice that I'm also looking for you to cite some specific sources. So to earn full points, you need at least 3 sources from our library content. And as always, I'm looking for those to be cited in APA format. For every activity that you have in this class, there is an associated rubric. So I went ahead and posted an image of the rubric right below the description of this assignment. And I also want you to know that when you go to submit your module assignment, you can click on the rubric again. So there's multiple opportunities for you to read that. Please don't complete an activity without looking at the assignment. We all have students who do that, and we're like, oh, I know you know more than this. So make sure that you're completing that thoughtfully. So again, which of these classrooms do you think could improve? Where are their shortcomings, and what are some recommendations that you may have in terms of their improvement? So this is our final week for that first learning module, and next week we'll take our next step and keep digging deeper. You guys have been a wonderful class so far, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you. As always, do not hesitate if you have any questions. Thank you.